Hi, this is Rabbi Moshe Rothschild for the Global Israel Alliance, bringing you the weekly update of all the news that you need to know from Israel. Today is Friday, March 1st, and so here's a summary of the top stories from this week in Israel. Okay, first of all, coming up in just a little bit over a month are the elections on April 9th. And the big news out of Israel this week is that the right-wing parties united to include a party called Otzma Yehudit, which is considered a very, very right-wing party, very nationalistic party, and the prime minister came under heavy criticism, Netanyahu, for including this far-right party, Otzma Yehudit, into the possible coalition of the right. And the Netanyahu accused, though, of the left-wing parties of hypocrisy because they are including some left-wing Arab nationalist parties in their slates. And so it's a developing story here in Israel. Now, we reported to you a few weeks ago about a terrible tragedy of Ori Ansbacher, a 19-year-old Israeli girl who was murdered by a Palestinian terrorist in Jerusalem. They had planted 50 trees in her memory, and those trees this week were uprooted by Palestinians, and the trees were stolen. A very, very sad story that was reported this week. We mentioned Cyril Katz, a foreign minister, who had said some what Poland considered to be inflammatory remarks against the Poles, and Cyril Katz this week emphasized the close cooperation between Poland and Israel, yet he still refuses to withdraw any of his statements because, as he said, the memory of the Holocaust isn't something that we can compromise on, and it's something clear, and we won't forget and forgive. Poles collaborated with the Nazis, and as a former prime minister said, Yitzhak Shamir, they suckle anti-Semitism with their mother's milk. And so Yisrael Katz refused to withdraw any statements. According to Bloomberg News, the healthiest country in the world index that was released this week, Israel ranks as the 10th healthiest country in the world out of 169 countries that were graded. The top 10 countries were Spain, Italy, Iceland, Japan, Switzerland, Sweden, Australia, Singapore, Norway, and Israel. And my friends back in the United States, the United States ranked only number 35 of the healthiest countries in the world. Canada was 16 and the UK was 19. This week, the Prime Minister Netanyahu is meeting with Russian President Putin in Moscow. And Netanyahu told Putin, and I quote, "Our direct contact has prevented friction between our armies and contributed to the security and stability of the region." He added that the greatest threat to the safety and stability of the region is Iran and its partners, and we are determined to continue our actions against Iran's entrenchment in Syria. This week it was reported as well, the Shin Bet, which is our secret security force here in Israel. They, in a statement, they said this morning in a joint operation by the Shin Bet Security, the Israel Defense Forces, and the Israel Police, 2 Palestinian terrorists were arrested in connection with their involvement in serious and current terrorist activities. Naftali Bennett, who's his new right-wing party, Yamina Chadash, has warned that unless the right-wing blocs can get together and win, immediately after a left-wing victory, a Palestinian state will potentially be formed. And the last thing I want to report to you, very interesting, Walmart. That's right, the great American retail chain, Walmart, has acquired a Tel Aviv-based artificial intelligence startup called Aspectiva for an undisclosed sum of money. Aspectiva uses artificial intelligence to analyze consumer opinions and turns them into valuable insight for retailers. Another fascinating story there. So those are the stories for this week. And finally, I'll end with this. The biggest news of the week was that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, yesterday it was announced that the Attorney General will indict Netanyahu for charges on bribery and misuse of the public trust. And we will see what happens. It's a serious developing story here in Israel. Netanyahu says this is a conspiracy by the left wing who cannot defeat him in the ballot boxes, so they have to attack him using the court system and these trumped up charges against him. He will have a chance to defend himself, and of course the left wing is saying Netanyahu needs to step down and back out of the coming elections. But we'll keep you posted. This is Rabbi Moshe Rothschild from Israel, the Global Israel Alliance, wishing you a great Shabbat, a great Sabbath, a great weekend.